For years, many dismissed Islam Makhachev as just another hype job and imitator of Khabib Nurmagomedov, who only faced weak competition. But those doubts vanished when he dominated Charles Oliveira and Alexander Volkanovski, cementing himself as the best fighter on the planet. Even now, a few skeptics remain, however. As Daniel Cormier often says, there are levels to this sport, and right now Makhachev stands at the very top, a true final boss in the fight game, according to one of the greatest fighters ever.
There is fighters, there is champions, and there is elite. My opinion is like Islam is elite in UFC right now. Not many fighters can call themselves elite. There's almost 700 fighters in UFC. Not all of them, maybe 20 guys elite, maybe. But I think a little bit less than 20.
It's no secret that Khabib Nurmagomedov and Islam Makhachev share a deep bond. They've been training side by side since they were kids, pushing each other to new heights. Even when Khabib was at his peak, Makhachev was the only one who could truly challenge him in sparring, going as far as winning rounds against the undefeated legend. According to their coach, Javier Mendez, no one else ever managed to do that.
When Islam first started come training, I mean, he was the only person that actually gave Khabib any trouble sparring. No one else would give Khabib any trouble sparring. He was the only one. He was the only one that would actually win rounds against Khabib. No one else could ever do that. No one else won a round against Khabib. He was the only one. He was the only one that was able to win a round here and there against Khabib. So I knew that he was special based on that.
The reality is, Islam Makhachev was always a monster. Even when he was up against lesser-known opponents, the only thing holding him back was the shadow of Khabib Nurmagomedov. For years, he stayed in the background, but now that he's the face of the division, he's showing the world that he might just surpass Khabib at his peak. Daniel Cormier, who has trained with both fighters, believes Makhachev has taken things to another level.
Dana came out a couple weeks ago and said that when he talked to Dustin after the fight, he said he was freaking out, or it was Dustin or Conor, one of them was freaking out because they said they never thought another man could do that to them under Khabib because of his strength and his control and the way that he manipulated you on the ground. I think Makhachev possesses a lot of those same type of qualities. Very similar when he gets you on the ground. But because he's a better striker, I feel he's even more dangerous than Khabib was during his prime.
One of Khabib and Islam's teammates believes Makhachev is the bigger threat due to his superior striking. Meanwhile, another teammate argues that Islam's wrestling has even surpassed that of the undefeated lightweight legend himself.
He's so much stronger than Khabib. And I know, look, and I'm splitting hairs here. Like, what I mean by so much stronger, when you're talking the top 1% of fighters, okay, which is Islam and Khabib and Justin, he is, when you're talking about Khabib and him, when I say so much stronger, it's like 2%. Maybe he's 2% stronger. That 2% though is huge when you're talking the 1% of the top fighters.
Josh Thompson might have a point about Makhachev's strength after all. How else could he overpower and choke out a Brazilian jiu-jitsu specialist with the most submission victories in UFC history?
But Islam's choke must be otherworldly.
Yeah.
He must be otherworldly.
To do that to Charles?
Not just that, like the moment he's passing, Charles is tapping.
Yeah.
Like his squeeze has got to be off the charts. I talked to DC about it, and I said, hey man, I go, his squeeze must, he goes, oh, dope. I had him demonstrate a choke on me. I thought it was gonna be fun. You know, like, show me how you do that. Show me how you do it. He goes, dude. When he grabbed a hold of me, I was like, oh, this guy's gonna choke me. And that's DC.
Makhachev's dominant victory over Oliveira at UFC 280 was a wake-up call for both fans and fighters, who had written him off as just another overrated contender riding on Khabib's legacy.
Hoje, infelizmente, para mim foi um dia ruim.
You know, there's not much to say. He basically just got to do what he was. Today, he was better than I was. He was able to do things and when I wasn't, and he was able to actually, you know, get his game going, which was basically, you know, put me down and work that. And I mean, there's nothing much to say as much as that.
Surprise! Surprise!
After the fight was over, like, man, maybe it's not just Khabib bigging up his own guy. He might just be telling the truth.
Yeah.
His striking is head and shoulders above Khabib's, for sure. And I think it's still yet to be seen with the other high-level guys where they're at grappling-wise. But so far, he's a better finisher. Seemingly, he's attacking submissions more. He's more active. He moves better. You know, he fights out of both stances pretty well. I don't. Anybody at 55, I don't. Who beats that guy?
In his first title defense at UFC 284, Makhachev proved his striking abilities against Alex Volkanovski, who was the top pound-for-pound fighter at the time, though Volkanovski pushed him to the limit. Many overlooked the fact that Islam went toe-to-toe with one of the UFC's most elite strikers. The fight sparked debate, with some believing Makhachev didn't do enough to win.
Oh, that's insane.
Oh, really?
That's insane.
God.
He got
Really?
robbed. He got up.
I gotta see my $2,000.
No. If it went to decision, I win the bet. What the fuck? Still win my money.
But I still think Volk won that.
Volk won that fight.
We were convinced.
Were we too biased?
We might have been biased.
However, others strongly disagreed.
In terms of the judges, men, three of the best in the business, by the way, David Letheby, Derek Cleary, and Ben Cartledge. It was unanimous decision for Islam Makhachev. Derek Cleary gave rounds 1 through 4 all to Islam Makhachev, and I think there is absolutely unequivocally an argument to be made that Makhachev was up 4-0, and I know people don't want to hear this.
In their UFC 294 rematch, Makhachev showcased his high-level striking, sharp fight IQ, and ability to evolve by delivering a perfectly timed head kick that put Volkanovski to sleep.
Islam, man. He showed a bunch of that front kick, and he was throwing that kick to the body, and then he threw the same kick to the head. Yeah. This is not he was tired.
No, not unprepared.
No, he got caught.
Yep.
He got caught. He got caught with an amazing kick.
That'd happen.
But how did it unfold?
Islam Makhachev's observation of the fight, his preparation of the fight, I guess leading up to it, he knew the head kick was there from the first fight. He knew he was coming in 11 days notice, he was going to be a little soft, and if he softened that body up a little bit, allowing those hands to drop, it's going to be easier for the head kick. He knew that head kick was going to be there because he landed the first time. And second, if I can get this guy leaning into it, because he doesn't know if he's going to throw a front kick or a body kick, so he leaned into it, and aiming right above that glove, just like Mirko Cro Cop, he's gonna put him to sleep, and that's exactly what happened. So Islam Makhachev, hats off to you, man.
Even Volkanovski had to give him credit.
Got me, good. I haven't properly watched the back, but got me. Went straight over. He went nice and high, even though I was shelling. So maybe it was something that they were planning. So credit to him.
Even with Makhachev repeatedly showcasing his skills, skeptics remain. Some still argue that he has much to prove, especially since his record features only a handful of high-profile opponents.
I'm a huge fan of him.
Yeah, me too. It's incredible.
Huge fan. I love what he brings to the table. I love his style. He's carrying on all the tradition and everything that Khabib brought to the table, and he's continuing that. It almost sounds disrespectful, like a Khabib 2.0, but I think that's fair to say. And I understand and I respect him wanting to be held in that regard. The reality is he's just not there yet, sadly. And I don't say that with any amount of spite or malice. I'm looking at his record. Since he come to the UFC, there's been great wins. Nick Lentz, Chris Wade, Gleason Tebow, Kajan Johnson, Arman Sarukian, good win. David Hamosh, these are all good wins. Drew Dober, Moises, Hooker, right? Bobby Green. Then it's Charles Oliveira and Alexander Volkanovski. The fighters that I mentioned up until those last two are all really good fighters. You don't get to the UFC unless you're something special. But they're not elite.
Right.
They're not champions. They're not Hall of Famers. The last two, Oliveira, Volkanovski, for sure.
For sure.
But what if Makhachev defeats someone whose accomplishments in the sport far surpass his...
The sport of mixed martial arts that he has. I've been around a long time. I was doing this before it was cool, and I'm still here. I'm still here doing it at the highest level. I could beat anybody in the world, and I hope he's next.
The next time Makhachev steps into the octagon, he'll face Dustin Poirier, who fully understands the challenge ahead. Poirier has been watching Makhachev closely ever since the Russian shocked him by dismantling Oliveira.
Reaction to him losing the title to Islam?
I was surprised. I didn't have a dog in the fight, but I thought Charles was going to get it done. But congrats to Islam, he's a world champ.
And what's your opinion about him as a champion? Obviously being top of the division now.
Tough guy, on a streak. Looks like he's putting everything together, doing everything right. What bad can I say about him?
Makhachev recognizes that he's facing a legend at UFC 302, but he still sees it as a straightforward challenge.
Dustin, he's already legend, and he have more than everybody experience in this sport. But his problem is his style. Just one problem that guy have. His weak point is wrestling and the grappling. And I just, I have the key for the easy fight, and I think if I follow the plan, I can beat him easy.
Can Islam Makhachev hold on to his pound-for-pound throne and successfully defend his title against one of the greatest lightweights of all time? Drop your thoughts in the comments.